Now, the 10-minute drill.
This is a big one.
Brought to you by Burkins Chevrolet. If you're from GA or FLA, you should be driving a Burkins Chevrolet. Come on.
Hit it.
I want to rock right now. I don't know about the rest of you. Welcome aboard on this Monday morning. The train is out the station. We got lots of scenery to chew on today.
Oh, boy.
It was a fun weekend, a big weekend. We learned that the gang of incompetence is just riding and roping all over the country, screwing teams left and right. Pro football, college basketball, doesn't seem to matter for the game of incompetence and their striped shirts, just destroying happiness at every turn. In case you missed it Saturday night, we had another all-timer. All-timer. You're supposed to be a basketball official. All-timer. More on that coming up. All right, Beef, it's the 10-minute drill. We'll also give out a prize pack at the end. It's what we do.
You're darn tootin'.
Yeah.
Rasputin.
What are we getting?
We're hooking it up, man.
We're going Sister Christian, aren't we?
We are. We're sending every day this week on the 10-minute drill. One lucky Guggen will win a pair of tickets to go see Dennis DeYoung and Night Ranger at the Florida Theater coming up Friday night, April 12th at 8 p.m.
Well, I know you're multitasking today, firing off the questions. I'll try and give nice, confident answers, and maybe we can end this segment and go to break with some Sister Christian. That would warm the cockles of my heart.
For you, I will do that.
Thank you. What is a cockle? It doesn't sound natural, and I'm really never comfortable.
I think we looked that up before, and it wasn't dirty.
Oh, well, I know it's not dirty, or we wouldn't be in all the, I don't think it's dirty.
I think it might be like some old English slang for the chambers of
I don't
heart.
like it at all. I think maybe we should get rid of that word cockles.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Cocksure.
Doesn't seem right to me. Cocksure is a word.
It is a word. We looked it up in Webster's dictionary.
Dan likes to reference the Florida Gators block of a South Carolina field goal. That one always makes me uncomfortable as well. Cocksure.
First and foremost, Jeff.
Like the Great Gatsby.
I mean, the gang of incompetence aside, we have a final title game matchup tonight. It'll be Virginia and Texas Tech, two teams looking for their first title. The over-under is set at just 118. That's the lowest in the last 20 years. Do you see it being a defensive slugfest like that? And who do you see shaking out at the end? Well,
boy, it's easy to say Virginia, right? I mean, they're number one seed. I don't know if I'm rooting for here. My parents, I'm not parents. My boys' godparents, Virginia grads. One of my best friends in the world, his wife is a Texas Tech grad. His kids are at Texas Tech right now. Guns down, kiddos. Hope you weren't part of the, revelry and rioting on Saturday night. So I don't, I'm just rooting for a good game. I'm going to watch, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, it's going to be the lowest rated championship game maybe since they started doing ratings. This is a hard sell. This is ugly, grind it down basketball. This is, Pistons Knicks in the 80s. It's going to be low. I would take the under. I would go under 118. Each team's going to use the majority of the play clock. They're each going to play shutdown defense. You're going to look up. There's going to be 12 minutes to go in the half, and it's going to be 8-6. I think that's what will happen. These are two of the top defenses in college basketball. I think Texas Tech was third and Virginia was one, I think. I mean, these are two of the best defensive basketball teams going. I think Texas Tech is going to win, and the only reason I say that is, Virginia now twice in a row has gotten really lucky. There's also this, the kind of this, stance that you take that, well, it's their time, right? It's magic. It's magic for them. So maybe it is. Texas Tech has been the more impressive team to me. Michigan State, good teams. Texas Tech pretty much dominated both of them. So it'll be a good game if you like low-scoring games. Look, the over-under is 118. I'm not sure they get to 100. This may be 49-47. It might be.
Jeff, we've talked about as, we've gotten a little bit of fatigue with mock drafts, et cetera.
Yeah.
But we've talked about, one of the conversation pieces around the Jags is when the draft approaches, just when or if they add a running back in this draft. The gang over at SI ranked all 32 teams based on their running back groups. And the Jags combo of Fournette, Williams, Rawls, and Dimitri Flowers stacks up at number 21 in the league. So does that suggest to you that maybe sooner rather than later that position needs to be addressed?
Well, you know what that indicates to me? Just how volatile the ranking is based on Leonard Fournette's talent. I mean, the Jags could be top 5 on that list if Leonard Fournette comes out and does what they drafted and pay him to do, run for 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns, right? They'll go up pretty quick in that ranking. Another thing about the ranking, now I'm not saying it should affect it, maybe it wouldn't, but it also doesn't include the 2 recent signings, particularly the Alfred Blue signing. I don't know if that would jump them up at all. But even that being said, back to the question, regardless of the ranking, I think, yeah, I think they need a 4th rounder. They need to hit a Tariq Cohen they need to hit a middle round running back who you look up in the middle of the year, and he's an eye-opener. We haven't had that guy on offense. They have not drafted that guy. Part of it is just maybe the mentality, the lack of explosiveness, the quarterback issues. When have we drafted a surprising, explosive offensive talent? Mojo?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. Is that how far you got to go back to find a
truly explosive?
Truly explosive, eye-opening player, much better than you thought you were getting? Yeah, it's probably Mojo. That's not good. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other teams around the league that are drafting the Tevin Colemans and the Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohens and the David Johnsons, and the list is long, of good, productive running backs going, after round 1. So, yeah, I'd say that they do go get a running back, and I would be in favor of that. But please, be a good one, Don't give me a plotter or a thumper. Give me a guy who can be a game changer.
Not a lot you could take away from spring games in the most part, but FSU had their spring game this weekend. It seems like mostly positive reviews coming out of Tallahassee. So for the casual FSU fan driving into work right now, I know you're connected and you've read a lot of the takeaways. So what's the good buzz out of Tally after what we saw this weekend?
They looked much more in control. Well, they knew like they were supposed to be going. They ran the plays more quickly. They got to the line. Look, I think the most optimistic thing for FSU is last year there were so many problems. The offensive system didn't work. The scheme was bad. The line played terrible. They didn't get plays off. They were penalized. And now it looks like a lot of that has been cleaned up. The schedule's manageable. It looks suddenly to me, just from the spring game, based on how the quarterback played, James Blackman threw over 400 yards, how a couple of the defenders flashed, a couple of the wide receivers, including a freshman, had over 100 yards receiving. So they looked much more explosive. They looked like they were on the same page, and this gobbledygook of the play clock winding down and throwing bubble screens needs to be a thing of the past. And based just on the spring game, it looks like it is. So the play of the quarterbacks, the play of the outside weapons, they have a game-changing defender in Marvin Wilson. The key is it's going to come down now to the offensive line. And can they improve? Because that is the one area that we don't know until the competition begins. So we'll see.
A guy that a lot of Jaguar fans had on their wish list going into the offseason, and maybe it was pie in the sky, was a deal for Antonio Brown. That didn't happen. He wound up being dealt to the Oakland Raiders. He's gotten in a Twitter beef with Juju Smith-Schuster, taking a shot at Smith-Schuster after receiving a team award. It's just a made-up team MVP award over Twitter, taking a pot shot at him. Smith-Schuster took the high road here, but I mean, what is Brown doing here? What's the end game for Mr. Big Chest here?
Oh, he is, and a lot of people make this mistake. They think talking up themselves or talking down someone else increases their value. It's amazing. I mean, the mistake will be made in 4th grade today by preteens. It'll be made in college today. It'll be made in marriages tonight. It is the heart of the human condition when it comes to mistakes. If you can avoid this, if you can avoid these 2 things, you'll be much more respected and have a much more peaceful life. Those 2 things are talking yourself up and talking other people down. And so all I can think of, it's in an effort to somehow make himself look better and not having the processing to understand that all you're really doing is making it worse. That would be my answer. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish. Motivate a personal challenge between he and Juju Smith-Schuster. I think more than anything, it's just throwing a couple more insults at his old team And he's clear. One thing it did become clear, and Antonio Brown doesn't realize this, going back to what I just said, is at the end of the day, he just looks like a jealous scorn lover. That's what he looks like. He just looks like he's jealous of Juju Smith-Schuster emerging into a better player than him, at least a more productive one on the Steelers last year.
You see this happen a lot of times in sports where, somebody enters free agency thinking they're going to hit the jackpot, and then they sit and don't really get the deal they thought they were going to get. It's happening to your guy Craig Kimbrell right now. The Hearse thought he was going to get some big deal, and he still remains unsigned. I use that as a very clunky transition to the UCLA men's basketball job. Where
that's not where we were going. I thought I was going to answer when. Yeah, okay.
They fired Steve Alford.
Yeah,
and they were maybe just the rumor mill linked to John Calipari or maybe Billy Donovan, and then it became Jamie Dixon, and they don't want to pay Texas Tech the buyout or Texas Christian, and now reportedly they're talking to Rick Barnes. So what has happened to the UCLA job that it's this hard to fill?
Well, I tell you what's happened. They get good coaches and they panic and fire them too soon.
And that used to be the premier job.
I mean, refresh my memory how Ben Howland exited UCLA. Wasn't he let go?
I believe you're correct, yeah.
I mean, Ben Howland went to the Final Four 3 years in a row. That wasn't good enough for UCLA, I guess. Steve Alford is an accomplished coach. Sometimes UCLA fires Ben Howland after, quote, tumultuous tenure. 3 Final Four berths didn't outweigh recent failures, and they let him go in March of 2013. This just in, if you want to go get Jamie Dixon, then you have to be prepared to pay the buyout when you start those thoughts and conversations. I would say UCLA has been too knee-jerk. I mean, they haven't been too impatient.
I mean, if you're Rick Barnes, based on what you just did at Tennessee, do you make that move?
If you're willing, I think you make that move if you're willing to be fired in 3 years if you haven't made a significant impact. They haven't had a ton of coaches in UCLA history. Amazingly, they've that. This is unbelievable to me. The next head coach of UCLA will be the 14th in team history. 14. That's it. All the way back. Offered 5 years. Ben Howland 10 before him. At the end of the day, you have this unbelievable standard set by John Wooden that Gene Bartow was able to carry on for 2 years, and then Gary Cunningham for another 2. But it's just hard. The game has changed, and the expectation, the standard of something that was set now 40 years ago is hard to beat back. So they have gotten awful itchy since, in the last 30 years, this will be their 5th. So only 14 going back 100 years, but they'll be 5th in the this will be their 5th in the last 30. And I'll tell you what else has happened, and this is the part that is that you can't change. UCLA's not the gig it used to be. UCLA's not the special. They're not even a top 3 program right now. Not even close. So that hasn't changed, or that has changed a bunch as well. Thank you. Caller number 4 right now is going to hear this dulcet tune.
You're damn right there.
Along with Dennis DeYoung.
Night Florida Theater.
This Friday night at the Florida Theater.
You're going.
Yeah.
Caller number 4.
It's spurred my love of the rock ballads back in the day.
This is a top shelf rock ballad.
Yeah. I will do you a favor. I'm not going to go full throat Dan Hicken and start singing it just because it's a song that I like. I will not subject you to that.
You don't even have to like it. It just has to be a song.
Isn't that the truth? Again, just one of the quality improvements you're experiencing on today's edition of The Drill.